live. Okay, great. Cool. So you want to continue having the quick conversation quickly about thing week stuff?
And yeah, you want to do that, and then should we do predictions or do another time with Colin, or how do you see it?
Ideally, I still want to do it with Colin to so that he doesn't like his stuff comes in.
Yeah.
Basically, my stuff is basically the stuff I've been documenting in there in the chat about how I feel about things now.
Okay.
My predictions, I'm still quite cool with my predictions, except I realize I left the Kings off of my Western Conference predictions altogether. Thanks for
Yeah.
resharing that text, Shane, by the way.
Hmm.
I'm just looking now quickly to see.
Because I did a whole nother list.
Yeah. So I think my list definitely changes. There's no question about it. One thing is that based on the stuff I've been putting in the chat, basically, I like what the San Antonio has done, and I really want them in the playoffs. Hook or crook, I really want them in the playoffs. Same thing with Golden State. I really want them in the playoffs. I want them 7 or 8 seed because I feel that they give either one or two in the West a good run for their money. Okay, as I said, does not have the veteran leadership that they need at this stage. I think they need to have. You see, what San Antonio did that I really like is that they have both Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul. So Harrison has winning experience with Golden State, and Chris Paul is just the best point guard the NBA perhaps has ever seen, arguable, but like top three point guards the NBA has ever seen. And the fact that he's still doing it at this high level, starting for a team that has this promising future means the world. And I don't think Wemby has any fear about high pressure moments because he's technically been a professional for at least the last 3 years, right? So this is nothing new to him. And he proved that in the Olympics. He's proven that pretty much on every stage he's been on. He should have had the defensive player of the year last year. And of course they're going to give it to him this year because he's only improved. And things like that. It's just there's a number of things that are going on in the NBA right now that lead me to think that we're on good shoulders going forward. This year is a little bit of a piss show because of the injuries and whatnot, but we knew that that was going to happen. Um, and of course, I wish teams cared more about the players than like whatever they're doing now. I just don't understand why Embiid is still playing. I don't understand why Paul George is still playing. I wish they would develop their talent that they have because I think they're full of actually pretty good young players. They don't have a full like rotation squad, let's say, without Embiid and Paul George. However, the talent that they have is pretty solid and can be developed pending whatever they do within the trade and draft that comes up at the end of this year. So trade, draft, and free agency pool that comes up at the end of this year. But certainly, I don't think Embiid should be playing. I don't think that Paul George should even be playing. Uh, regarded, I think he just needs to get his mind right. Even if he's quote unquote healthy, I don't think he's fully healthy. As I was mentioning about the West, yeah, my West table looks very different today than it did when we put these in thing. I still think I'm not mad at my Mavs pick, but this Davis thing puts that in jeopardy. But I think the Mavs could end up sitting in that 6-7 space and doing damage in the playoffs, in the final playoffs. So OKC, who's number two in the West now?
Right now is, oh man, I had it up here before. Because yeah, no, okay, see, I think wasn't it the Thunder? Sorry, the Nuggets. No, it's the Grizzlies. They're 36 and 18.
Okay. So I'm just gonna look at I'm looking at NBA.com quickly so I can make informed comments about the standings and where they end up and stuff like that, and give you a better idea as to where I think the predictive stuff will go. Standings. Okay, right. So Thunder, nobody's taking the one seed away from them. So yeah, so it's going to be Thunder, Grizzlies, Nuggets in one, two, and three. They may Nuggets may pass the Grizzlies in one, two, and three. That's fine. Four and five. Rockets are doing well. Lakers. Screen keeps turning off on me. And 11 and 13. Okay, so Lakers and Rockets, I guess, are fairly much barring. No, I think the Lakers are going to fall out of that 4-5 conversation, and I think the Clippers might catch them. Which would put the Lakers then in 6 or 7 potential. I do not know if the Spurs have enough. Actually, no, the Spurs have enough to get past the Kings if they Kings slip. Kings have now a new coach, 3 new players, 2 of whom played the same position in DeRozan and this guy from the Bulls. What's his name again?
Zach Levine.
Levine, right? So DeRozan and Levine play the same position, same type of way. They're both like mid-range and paint players, I guess, slashers type thing. They're both really good, but I think they sort of cancel each other out in terms of effectiveness. So unless one of them comes off the bench and becomes a really great like bench player, so that they can like manage their minutes together properly, that's going to hurt them a little bit. But the truth of the matter is, I don't want the Kings playing in the play-in this year. But that's a personal thing. I don't know. I really don't follow them well enough to know whether or not they have it in them to stay thing. And as again, I'm a little bit biased, and I want the Spurs to do the play-in and eventually come into the playoffs. The only problem is I don't see either the Warriors or the Spurs realistically getting into the playoffs past unless it's past LA Clippers. And I can't think of another team because Timberwolves I feel are gonna make it. Timberwolves are the odd man out. Mavericks I definitely see making it into the playoffs because I see Davis coming back healthy and strong and rested and together with all their other big lineup. I see Mavericks making it into the playoffs, and I think Mavericks are going to do fairly well in the playoffs. So I would feel real bad to be the Grizzlies or the Thunder if they have to play them first round. If you're playing a healthy Mavericks team first round, you're going to have to work. Uh, let me put some thought into it and get back to you on how my change will come. I'll put it in the chat on how my full change will come. But the West is it's going to be interesting, especially based on who I want to be in the playoffs versus what I realistically think is going to actually happen. I think realistically speaking, we can say that the Trailblazers, Jazz, and Pelicans are out, out, out. Suns to me are out, out, out as well. And then yeah,
And then the
that
battle
thing between
begins.
the battle between the Kings, Spurs, and Warriors basically is really on. I think both LA teams have done just enough to all but guarantee themselves a spot in the playoff, if not play in. And so that's why I don't think both my teams can get into the playoff playing situation. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. Timberwolves, I just don't like the way their season has been going since they made that trade with Randall. But I still have my things with Randall in general. Randall has become my Bledsoe of this last 3 years or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
What are your
no,
thoughts
like
on the West Conference?
yeah, it's gonna be super exciting after this All-Star break because yeah, that's I think yeah, pretty much 7 through 11. That's when um yeah, the real battle begins with that group there because I think there's gonna be some teams that are fighting specifically for just a playoff spot. And then other teams will be also fighting for positioning because, like you said, I don't think, yeah, like, well, it depends where the Mavericks rank. But then, yeah, like you said, once they get Davis back, like I watched that game of theirs and man, they looked absolutely dominant. And they looked like they
And
gelled
that's
well
missing two big men.
immediately. That's missing two big men. And the thing is, and I think Lively would be the one who would actually play better with Anthony Davis, but Gafford, yeah, they paired so well together. I mean, like the alley oops and everything. So it just seemed
I think I disagree with that take a little bit. I think Gafford,
with the
because he
Gafford
doesn't
and
have
Anthony
plays run
Davis.
for him, I think Gafford and Anthony Davis would play better together because they don't make plays for Gafford, where they do make plays for Lively. You see?
True, true. Yeah, yeah. And then Gafford is just playing more so off of Anthony Davis, and so I'm just
Yeah,
getting
he's
all
just
these
getting
notifications.
rebounds and being a big
Yeah,
body in
yeah.
the paint, a secondary
Mm-mm.
big body in the paint. So he's
Scrapping up
not
back
getting
to
plays
him
run
type
for
thing.
him, but he's just so efficient in what he ends up getting. So that's why I think Davis and Gafford would play really well together. And Lively is a starter in this league, right? Gafford is not a confirmed starter without someone around him, in my opinion. But Lively is a starter. But I would rather have that sort of power and efficiency both ends of the floor coming off the bench, supporting another off bench scorer at a guard position. So that's why that team has more on paper problems than they know what to do with. In other words, they have a good situation in terms of their bench and their starting lineup and decisions to be made, coaching basically.
And I actually like Lively coming off the bench because for me, like having a bench that comes midway the first quarter, like, they kind of like re-energize things, or even like when they come in the second quarter, they just put, they kind of put the game into second gear, if you will. And I think Lively does that really well. Although I have seen him, yeah, in the starting lineup. And then, but I like the Gafford starting with Anthony Davis on this one. But yeah, we'll see. I think maybe what they're gonna have to figure out, and kind of, sometimes the injuries are a blessing because now that we have quite a few players out, and also I guess they're, kind of restructuring a little bit in a sense, having lost Luca. This could be their chance to, now figure out, okay, what's our bench really gonna look like. And then let's also not forget Max Christie, who, in the first, couple of games of the Mavericks, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, is this a little bit of a, I don't want to say steal, but like, something a little bit more fair because he looks like, as if, he's, coming off a bad year and then re-energizing his entire career. Um, so that's one thing that I'm really excited to see. And I think the Mavs, yeah, unfortunate because of the injuries, they're not gonna position well within the Western Conference, but will be more so be fighting for, and will probably be in the play-in and fighting for that playoff spot with I think the Timberwolves, the Kings, and the Warriors. The thing with the Spurs is that having watched quite a few games of them, I'm a little bit kind of skeptical about like what they're doing this season because there's some games I watched and it didn't seem as if that they were really trying to win. And this is just, my take or whatever, but I have heard actually on another show, and I was pretty excited to hear actually two other people mention something similar in terms of that, like, um, this could just be a season for them to kind of continue building the team, and then next year is when they're going to wreak havoc on the league, develop Wemby a little bit more, learn from Chris Paul, and then see where how they can gel with De'Aaron Fox. I don't know if you have any news on whether they plan on keeping Chris Paul, or whether it's now going to be a De'Aaron Fox and Wemby team.
So I think Chris Paul, he's got his contract ends at the end of this year. No, it's not even like he becomes a one their option or team option. I think it's just his contract ends at the end of this year. I'm not sure. Um, if it's a player option for next year, I think he takes it because he's at the end of his career and he's not got any guarantees going forward. Most teams will pick him up on a flyer, but at a salary significantly reduced. But I want Chris Paul in a position to win a championship before it's all said and done. Um,
Uh,
give him a
yeah.
position, give him a chance to be in the finals. So I don't want San Antonio to waste this opportunity because I think their bench, their team, start to finish, is solid. They have a backup for Wemby, a solid center position player for Wemby to play. And their depth chart is pretty good, pretty solid. Yes, and they have the same problems as OKC, but like I said, I think Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes are perfect complements, giving at least some sort of leadership and experience and teachable moments for them to get to do well this season. Um, and I really want. I said before, I think that this would have been a perfect opportunity for Parker to come back to the States, Ginobili to come back to the States, and Duncan to come back and be guiding them from a player's perspective on what made the Spurs so successful during their time together. Ginobili and yeah, and Ginobili and De'Aaron Fox, both left-handed players with very similar play styles, both very fast, easy get to the rim, and fairly consistent shooters, 20 foot and in, let's say. Tony Parker, Chris Paul. Chris Paul is the better version of Tony Parker in many senses, of an older Chris Paul, Tony Parker, I should say, because Tony Parker was a faster player when he was young, but when he was older, he was just a very solid point guard. And I think Chris Paul is a better half court player than Tony Parker was, even at this stage of his career. And then Wemby, Tim Duncan, damn, I think fundamentally Wemby is quite strong, but nowhere near the fundamental strength of Tim Duncan. But at this stage, having the handles and the shot that Wemby has, like if he if he gets the confidence and the know and knows how to slow down the game and learns those fundamentals that Tim had, that makes this team so strong. And I think just having Pop away from I don't think Pop is with the team. I don't think he's around the training and stuff like that that's going on the day to day at the moment. But having those people who spent those years under Pop's tutelage, etc., learning those systems, etc., means that they have hands-on experience and they can teach and show these guys how to get it done, and maybe even expedite the process. I definitely want Pop to get an opportunity to be in a building where there's continuation of the legacy that he started.
And what I think, what would, yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. And, seeing as, especially with the whole Tony Parker, Ginobili, Tim Duncan type of thing. And then, just kind of like looking at the roster, I could kind of see Chris Paul and Fox starting with Sohan and Harrison Barnes and then Wemby. Like that's a pretty strong starting five. And then
That's a great starting five.
it's yeah, right. And then, but I think for me, my main issue though is because I kind of like the bench. I've seen some games and like they do play really well. Everybody's raving about Stefan Castle, even outside the dunk contest. And then yeah, I've been a Biombo fan for a long time. But I think for me, the main issue and one of the reasons why I was skeptical about their winning ways right now was because of the 3-point shots that they take. And I think sometimes even like mid game or towards the end of the games, they have quite a bad shot selection, especially when you have somebody like Chris Paul on the team. It's kind of like, well, you'd expect them to take less threes because there were a few games where Victor Wembanyama is averaging, I think, 9 threes per game.
Nine threes a game. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
9 threes a game, and I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think that might be like something kind of contractual that he has to take these amount of threes. And I remember in a broadcast earlier in the season, Sean Elliott was saying that like this whole 3-point thing is actually part of the kind of like where the industry wants to go. So it's they're really pushing for them to shoot the threes. Now the issue that I had was that like Wemby is taking 3-point like forced 3-point shots, and there was a game where I think I saw him took like four in a row where they were down, or and I said to myself, I don't think they're really trying to get into the game, because the whole time he was just destroying in the key. He was absolutely unstoppable. And I was thinking, wait, hold on. The last time I saw something like this was actually with Shaquille O'Neal. Literally unstoppable. He has incredible moves. His skill set is, yeah, it's how to put it. He's like almost like a Swiss Army knife in the key. He can do everything with the spin moves, a little bit of like a hook shot. His shot is amazing. And so now, what you say about, having Tim Duncan in there, and, maybe even when Pop comes back in the training and really instill into Wemby the fundamentals that you said, that you mentioned before that Tim Duncan has. I think, yeah, that will make him. I mean, we're looking at another really unstoppable force since Shaquille O'Neal, in my opinion.
We're looking at a generational player of the ilk of the Shaq meets Embiid, of the ilk of with a little bit of Tim thrown in. Okay, he's going to be a generational player. He puts the NBA on really good standing going forward. And I think, I don't know about the contractual obligation of taking three pointers. I've never heard that one before. I do think he needs to stop taking nine threes a game. I think that's absolutely ludicrous. I think he needs to be back to the basket or slashing to the basket if he wants to be standing out and proving a threat to be a stretch five or whatever. But I think he needs to move towards the basket more often, because certainly his mid range is solid. His back to the basket needs a little bit of work, but he's got real signs of strength from the post position. And his mere height lends himself to being a super threat from within the 3 point line. So the three pointers I think are necessary, and I'd be fine with him taking three, maybe four a game. But nine is just outrageous, I think, for a 7'4" player, and because he also takes away some of the opportunities for some of the guards who have better statistics from outside than that he does. I think Castle is an awesome player, and he's going to develop into a star in the league at some point. And I'm saying this watching him as a rookie. I saw him play two games now, just regular season games, and then I saw him in the Rising Star Challenge or whatever it is competition, and I thought he was fantastic. So I think he's got a really good plus side. I don't think he needs to be starting yet. I think I agree with your starting five, but he can play pretty big role and pretty big minutes even now, I would say, as a the next the next group off the bench, even alongside Chris Paul as a two guard, alongside Champagne, whatever his name is. I think those two play well together.
Yeah, Champagne. I actually really like Champagne. And I think with him, if I remember correctly, him and Sohan are the kind of like the defensive stoppers.
Yes. Yeah, so they're both very solid defensively. I think Castle has a more offensive game that needs to be polished, let's say. I think together with Champagne, Wembenyama, they have a really good, solid core going forward. of young players, and they have to play to those strengths, etc. Wembanyama, like I said, he needs to slow down a little bit, focus on his inside the lane game, get that strength so that he can mix and match against some of the bigger players. He's not doing terribly as it is, but I think when you talk a slow down game in the playoffs, etc., where you're forced to do half court offense, etc., it would do him well to know that it's time to do a little bit slower pace and not be jacking up threes when there are other options available, either for himself or for other players. And I think it's good that he's a willing passer. So those things are all to his credit.
And you can see he has a really good basketball IQ at the moment. I love also the way he carries himself, kind of like not off the court, but like in interviews. He's passionate, and he talks quite a good, um, uh, quite a bit of in-depth knowledge about the game. I think they also said he knows his history about the basketball game, which, if you think about it, like, all the, beyond the greats, the cream of the crop, the Michael Jordans, Kobe Bryant's, they were all students of NBA history. They learn from that, like not only how to play the game, but also how to win. And I think that's important because, and it kind of like put in, for me, it kind of put in question. And for me, I was a little bit disappointed with what happened with Anthony Edwards, and why, for me, I don't think the Timberwolves are going to be as good as they were last year. Um, Now, one thing is that, like, wait, I'm just trying to see where I have. Yeah, so I think I also had, yeah, I had the Timberwolves actually dropping off and having to play in the play-in tournament because, we have, yes, there are some issues with injuries, but I think one of the main issues I have with them is actually with Anthony Edwards. Because yes, he's kind of, putting on display right now with the other, with right before the All-Star break. I think I'm just trying to find out their record
Three forty
here.
point games, 3 40 point games, and a 30 point game.
Right,
But
right.
it's 2 wins. I think it's 2-2 in those 4 games. It's
Oh, okay.
it's it's I agree fully. Like Anthony Edwards, he doesn't play within the current team context. He's putting up good numbers, don't get me wrong, but I think the team suffers from it because he doesn't have a number two that he trusts, perhaps, in the way he did with Carl Anthony. Carl Anthony, the two of them played a really good 1-2 game, both with offense and defense, in a way that Frenchman can't play offense at all, and Randall is a ball stopper. I can't deal with people who, despite their skill set, do not play within the team context of how basketball should be played, or winning basketball should be played, I should say. And so for me, Randall, every team he's been with, the way he holds the ball and stops the ball from moving is problematic to me. I think Anthony Edwards, he's a willing passer. I said that before. I said this last season and seasons before. Like when I've seen him play, he's a willing passer, he's a capable passer, but his offensive game means that he needs to know him and pick and choose his moments. And I think he's always been fairly good in offsetting that in previous years. But the problem is that when he passes the ball up in this team setting, and if Randall gets hold of it, that ball is not moving off of Randall until either a lot of time has passed, or until Randall finds a shot that he likes, which is not always, he doesn't have the best shot selection for that team.
Yeah, like,
So
and
basically, the team needs to be retooled. The Timberwolves team needs to be retooled. And that's why I don't think they're going to do well this season.
yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and I thought that, they would actually be better with the trade of DiVincenzo coming in. And Julius Randle, I wasn't too sure, but now I'm pretty sure that, yeah, he doesn't play good team basketball, and like you said, the whole flow of the offense stops when the ball goes to Julius Randle. And then there are also some situations where, he puts the team in trouble by, having, even just if it's, he holds it for 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 seconds too long. And then if they don't get the right play that they have, now the shot clock is run off, and they have to dish it to somebody else and make kind of rely on some.
rushed offense, which
Rushed
doesn't work.
miracle shots. Yeah, exactly. And then the thing is like, yeah, so you make a good point about, the team chemistry that they had with Carl Anthony Towns, and also, the combo he had with Anthony Edwards. But I didn't think that like the team chemistry would be destroyed that much to the point where the Timberwolves are, at least for me, they'll be fighting for a playoff spot. And last year they were second, and teams were actually scared of them. But I don't think teams are scared of them now because all they have to do is stop Anthony Edwards. And then when he said when he that the double teams were affecting him, it's kind of like, well, so that's how we can stop the Minnesota Timberwolves. We just have to, improve our defensive. I mean, our sorry, yeah, our defensive schemes in the double teaming. But as long as like we can stop him, they don't have a chance to beat us. Whereas last year they had other pieces that were playing well together and they could get those wins. And sometimes now I'm seeing, yeah, some individual plays, so they will get some wins, but I don't think they're a big threat. And just another one last thing that like kind of irked me with Anthony Edwards as well was when he said that he called Michael, I think it was, yeah, he called Michael Jordan to to give some pointers or some help on the double teams, which oh yeah, salutes to him. I applaud him for obviously calling s- one of the best, if not the best offensive player we've ever seen, and asking for advice. But then I think it was last year, he was kind of in a way, or at least like slightly shitting on or disrespecting the NBA in the 90s. And then now he's looking towards that era for some advice, which also tells me that like, yeah, hey, you'd think that like by now he'd have already at least seen those games, studied a little bit about the history of basketball, the Kobe Bryants, or like what they say about Victor Wembanyama. So yeah, that's my thing, my issue with the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards. I think also that he plays for, yeah, I think sometimes he plays for the individual accolades, and not for the team entirely. Because like I'm just comparing like some of like, well, he's the top 3-point maker in the league right now. He's obviously upped his 3-point game, which I forgot who was which analyst was saying that this is actually, I think it might have even been Kenny Smith, that this actually makes him less dangerous because, okay, yes, he can rely a little bit right now on the three, but the thing is, like before, when he was driving to the basket, now he's adding more of a threat between getting that 2-point shot from the mid range, attacking the basket, which now makes the defender back off of him a little bit more, and then he can take a cleaner 3-point shot. But yeah, that's just that was my analysis of the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards to this point.
No, the Anthony Edwards thing is very real. His over reliance on the 3-point shot has hurt his game. And certainly having his ability to get to the basket at will was one of the strengths that he had last year, which he's going away from, which is ridiculous to think. But at the same time, it's only ridiculous because he doesn't have, as you say, he doesn't seem to understand that part of what made him so threatening as a shooter was the fact that he was putting the teams at risk when he's slashing to the basket and perhaps putting them in foul difficulty so that every shot mattered, every touch mattered. So having a consistent basket threat makes teams look differently at you because they have to be mindful of the amount of fouls that they give up to any one player or any one position. And now because he's become comfortable in taking jump shots. Opposing teams don't have to worry so much about how much effort they play on defense, and they can rest a little bit where in the past they couldn't rest. So he does need to find a balance, a better balance there. I'm okay with him taking threes. Don't get me wrong. He clearly has a an app for it. He's got a decent percentage, etc. But he needs to manage his minutes and his game offensively so that he doesn't rely on it and doesn't become the thing that teams game plan for because they're not game planning against him taking threes. They want him to take threes. He needs to be respected as a slasher and a basket getter in the paint and against a defensive that are forced then to foul him because it makes the team better knowing that they can put opposing teams in penalty situations earlier on. And if they're in penalty positions, let's face it, you conserve your energy a little bit better, knowing that you can stop the game by creating a foul. And yeah, that works to their benefit. So the Timberwolves are concerning. I'm sad to see them fall as far as they have. If it means that my Spurs can get in there, if it means my Spurs and Warriors have an opportunity to get to the playoffs, so be it.
Yeah, and I also have, the Warriors getting in as well because I think the obviously, Jimmy Butler, the addition of Jimmy Butler, in what was, the craziest trade we've ever seen in NBA history, he will help them to secure a playoff spot. I'm guessing they would, fall probably in the number seven spot around the bottom number six, seven, or eight. But then I think what I'm also really excited to see is Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler playing at the same time on the floor at the same time because both are two great playmakers, right? And then I think with having either Kuminga, maybe you could even have Steph Curry and Buddy Hield, and then yeah, just that offensive play between Butler and Draymond Green, I think is gonna be super exciting.
Yeah, it's now a coaching thing for me for the Warriors. They need to be really well coached. They need a big man on top of what they have now. I'm happy that Steph is enjoying himself again. Uh, I do think they while they can do make moves in the playoffs, they need a big man to be serious contenders in any way, shape, or form. But they can give problems for any one of those first three teams in a playoff situation. It will be an interesting last 3 months, 4 months of the year for them. And I hope that having Jimmy Butler there gives them the team, the management, the GM, etc., motivation to develop out what their team can be going forward so that they're not wasting Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler's final 5, 6 years or whatever they have. I do want them competing for championship in the near future, but my priority this year is really with the Spurs. This year and next year, let's say, is with the Spurs, and I hope Chris Paul sticks around with the Spurs because I think giving that team that veteran mentorship, leadership, knowing the game, knowing the little tips and tricks. Like I said, I didn't enjoy it for the All Star weekend, but I think of knowing to take advantage of things in the playoffs, etc., of rules, etc., in the playoffs is part of the game overall. So, and I think there's no one better at it than Chris Paul. I don't really have any further takes for the West right now. Like I said, I'm going to give you my full list for the West and East at a later stage. I don't. I think we've spent a lot of time on the West already. I don't want to go into the East today. I think we can stick to the West. I'm like. I'll just give you a quick rundown of where I think teams are as I read them here. Thunder, as I said, they're going to maintain their number one seed. They're not getting far in the playoffs without a veteran leader. They may get to the finals, but I don't think they actually make the finals this year. I think they get to the second round at best before getting dethroned. Same thing with the Grizzlies. I don't actually see them getting into the second round because regardless of who they play, if it's one of the teams, I think if they play the Mavericks will beat the Grizzlies. If a healthy Mavericks team would beat the Grizzlies, a healthy Warriors team would beat the Grizzlies, a healthy Timberwolves team would beat the Grizzlies, a healthy Spurs team would beat the Grizzlies. The only team that I could see would not beat the Grizzlies is the Suns team because they're too disorganized. So you take that where it is. The Grizzlies is not making the second round of the playoffs. Nuggets should make the second round of the playoffs. They should. Would I be mad if they didn't? No, because I think, like I said, one of my three teams, Mavericks, Spurs, and Warriors, if they make the second round as opposed to the Nuggets, I wouldn't be mad at it. Though I do think the Nuggets are playing super well, and I'm happy to see Murray playing really well again, putting up numbers. They're a solid team. They're a solid super team when healthy. Jokic and Murray deserve a championship, another championship again. So I'm happy for them. Continue doing what you're doing. Rockets, young team, really well coached, playing really, really well. They're this next 4 years OKC, unless they get some veteran leadership. They can do really well, and I think they can make playoff pushes. But perhaps this year is not for them because if they played the Lakers or the Clippers in the first round, I don't see them against that sort of talent and experience doing getting past the first round. Uh, and I think that's pretty much it. You've heard my takes on all the other teams. That's
All
my
right.
West roundup.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so shall I just recap and kind of go through my West and then we can call it?
Yep,
And then
sounds good.
okay. Okay, so yeah, have, and then also like the next time when we do it with Colin, I'll also just do the same thing, but then probably I'll have like one or two more notes, or I can go a little bit deeper into some of the teams. But I have Thunder maintaining the first spot because yeah, well, Chet is back, and like you said, I don't see them going too deep into the playoffs. And then the Nuggets at number two because of yeah Murray coming back, and I'm really loving Westbrook how he's playing with Jokic, and then there's also the return of Aaron Gordon, and he's a very critical and key piece to the Denver Nuggets in my opinion. He does all the small things here and there. I think we can rely on him to hit the shot, but I think I like his tenacity on defense, but I think his real strength is really just the way he moves without the ball. Someday, Jokic and Westbrook and Murray, they can always find, players that move around and get open, especially under the basket. So I see them winning more games and actually getting to the second spot. And then number three, I have the Clippers because we've seen what they've done up until now, and everybody was saying, yeah, well, not everybody, but a lot of people thought they wouldn't be in the race for the playoffs. Right now, they're sitting at number six, and people were surprised. People are surprised to see them at number six. For me, now really, just really disappointed though with the trade of Kevin Porter Jr. and Terrence Mann. Those two players were very key to actually the success of where the Clippers are right now because and they won them quite a few games. Both on defense, Terrence Mann is growing to be a great leader. It's just that he had some issues off the court, and you could see that translate in some of the games. But then now with the addition of Eubanks, pretty much Kawhi coming back, and it's interesting to note that so the Clippers were my team, and I'm following them. We'll see what happens with this new trade and after the All Star break because they are a different team. And what the analysts were saying, what the broadcasters were saying was that like so when Kawhi came back, they were actually going to take this part up until now, the All Star break, as the preseason, and then now they're gonna start playing for real when it comes for real after the All Star break. So that's why I have them winning more games and securing the third spot. I'm really loving the Houston Rockets. They are actually better than number four, I'd say, because I think their real identity was when they were playing really well together as a team and winning games. In their last 10, they're 3-7, and they're in a bit of a slump now. And I want to say it's because of one of the main reasons why they've been losing games is because Van Vliet has been out. And watching yeah, so Houston Rockets became like my second team. I'm a Houston Rockets fan. Houston Rockets, Clippers, and the Pistons secured. Clippers, we'll see, but yeah, Rockets and Pistons because, like you said, they have a young core, and I think that energy can even take them to the second round. Yeah, Ime Udoka is doing amazing things. And then Amin Thompson, this guy is going to be incredible in the coming years. For sure, all-star, and he'll be very critical to teams winning or whichever team is on. Hopefully he'll stay with the Rockets. If this Rockets group can stay together, they can achieve, I think, what OKC has in the last couple of years. And then number five, I have the Grizzlies because they're standing at two right now, but I have them dipping a little bit because of John Morant. He's day to day, and really he's the key to the Grizzlies playing well together as a group. Yeah, he's just incredible in getting teams wins. He's not just a highlight reel, but he's an incredibly intelligent basketball player as well and super skillful. And then I have the Lakers at six. They're at five right now. Yeah, they can do five or six. I don't see them, yeah, doing anything too much different in terms of the standings, even though their game is going to be completely different. I think JJ Redick, well, he wanted to come to the Lakers. Here's Hollywood for you. I think they're gonna have to come up with something completely new, see what works with Luka and LeBron. I don't see LeBron staying on the Lakers beyond this season. But if he does, that would be really great to see Luca and LeBron play together. But I see them maybe, yeah, the first round. I don't see them getting to the second round. I don't think so.
Make sure you put that one in the notes. I want to see that in writing.
Which one is this one about
That
the?
the prediction about LeBron not being there next year.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
I
okay.
need to see that in writing.
Okay, because I have yeah in my trade notes I actually have a little bit more on that, but actually quite a bit. So that's good. We'll definitely hold that for the next time. And then seventh place, yeah, Golden State Warriors because of what what we talked about. And then I have the Kings in the eighth spot. I really they're gonna they might do a lot better because I'm really liking. I want to see how DeRozan, Sabonis, and Levine play together. And I've been hearing that yeah, Monk is actually this will give Malik Monk an even greater opportunity to show who he really can be. So I think, they have versatility, youth, and good chemistry. So I do see them making the playoffs. And, like as we discussed, I see the Wolves dipping into the play-in tournament. Unfortunately, maybe they won't even make it. And then the Mavericks, I see them going into the play-in tournament. And if they have, like you said, if they have a healthy squad, I think they're the team to beat, or at least they're the ones that are going to give the Celtics a run for their money.
So who is this?
Just the Dallas Mavericks. So yeah,
Okay.
pity. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think whoever meets the Mavericks, if the Mavericks make it whoever they meet in the first round, watch out.
No, they're
Yeah, that's
beating
what I.
whoever they meet.
Yeah, yeah.
Whoever they meet, because they you
Considering
have
that
to
they're
assume
healthy.
that it's going to be 7 or 8. If they're healthy, they 100% beat them. There's
And
zero question in my mind.
because
It's
the
just too well organized
yeah.
in terms of team structure, in terms of player structure, team structure,
Uh-huh.
that I don't care. I almost don't care who the coach is. And then,
Uh-huh.
of course, you're coached by Jason Kidd.
There you
Jason
go.
Kidd is a Chris Paul before Chris Paul in terms of mind and knowledge of the game. Like they know the game so well. And then
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie Irving is a master of knowing how and when to do things. So yeah,
And if
that
and if you and we think if we think about it, like he was kind of taking a little bit of a back seat when Luca was there, right?
no, no,
But
no, he
he
was
has the
absolutely
ability
not
to
trying
take.
to push.
But if he wanted to, he can definitely run a team. He can be the first option on a team and run a team all the way to the finals.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I just wanna, it's thank you for mentioning actually the coaching because I need to give props to Jeff Van Gundy and the Clippers, and that's actually one of the main reasons why they are as good as they are right now is because of their defense. And Jeff Van Gundy, he's a wizard. So yeah, I just want to give props to Van Gundy, and yeah, like you said, probably no need even to discuss, but yeah, Suns, unfortunately, this is not the year. And that's all I have to say about them. It's sad, but yeah.
That's the end of that one. Sun's not there yet. Restart, reboot. Okay, so you made a couple of comments in there that I want to address quickly. First off, I agree completely with you that I think the Nuggets may hit that number two slide spot real easily. I think that's quite possible. I had my bloody phone on me just now and I seem to have moved it. The Grizzlies at number three. My only thing for saying that, oh, I have it here. Good. Um, my only thing that you said something about a team moving up. Quickly, let me see, which team did you say was moving up? You think the Rockets moving up or something like this? So the Rockets are not
I,
moving anywhere in terms of they're not
uh,
going to be third or anything like that, simply because of their record,
The
their
Clipper
team
had the Clippers
or the
moving up.
Clippers. Sorry,
Yeah,
because of the
but
team
then we
record.
can
You're talking
speak on the Rocket.
5 games behind the Grizzlies and Nuggets. So they're not moving up anywhere. The only moves that they can make in terms of going upward mobility, 2.5 games behind the Rockets, it's a bit of a push. Rockets are playing consistently well, so they're not getting even to them, I don't think. So realistically speaking, the Clippers are more or less locked in stone. with an outside chance of pushing up to the Lakers because the Lakers have just completed this trade and they don't no longer have the team that they need to continue any momentum. So you might get up to the fifth seed at best, I think, taking over the Lakers. But again, they've lost now part of what was making their team whole and pure, basically. Terrence Mann is a significant contributor to that team. And who's the second player that they traded off of?
Kevin Porter Jr.,
Porter Jr. Yeah, two core people
core,
in their
exact,
team
very core.
in the way in the work that they were doing. So I see them sliding. They're not going to be in the top six. They're going to be in part of the play-in section. Okay, and that favors the Mavericks. That favors the Timberwolves because despite Timberwolves' struggles, they have a relatively healthy team, and you have what would maybe considered a top 10 offensive talent, if not top seven offensive talent in the league in Anthony Edwards. So Clippers are I don't think are staying put. I think they're going to be playing Mavericks. Mavericks can actually do pretty well. I don't know what their lineup, their remaining schedule looks like, but I think the Mavericks could move up as well. I agree with a lot of what you said, though. I really do. I think Grizzlies, they'll slip to three, but it'll be a close three with the Nuggets taking that number two spot. Uh, but that game behind difference for between the Grizzlies and the Nuggets and everybody else at 4.5, 4.5 games is significant given how strong the Nuggets are currently playing and how healthy they are. Given how healthy the Grizzlies are, I think the Grizzlies, Ja Morant not playing is problematic, but they've now played without him for a year and a half. So they know how to play without him. And the mere fact that Jaren Jackson got the nod for the All Star means that he's consistently being considered as a team leader, especially with their record. So yeah, those other three teams, Rockets, Lakers, and Clippers, more or less, in my opinion, 10.5 to 13 spots out. Game difference of 2.5. Those can be rotated around, but like you said as well, the Rockets are playing well. So I think they maintain their fourth spot. Lakers and Clippers can meander between the two of them, but I think they both drop a little bit, and they can be between them 4 and 5, 5 and 6. I mean, regardless. But yeah, we have to sort of watch these teams' schedules play out. Perhaps we need to get a better idea of what their strength of schedules are, comparatively speaking. But I think it's going to be an interesting watch, needless to say, for the rest of the year. Some of the players to watch. It's interesting that Chet Holmgren is going to be there. It would really be a royal fuck up for the Thunder to regress in this last couple of months. It would be a royal fuck up because an 8 game difference at the top of the Western Conference is significant. So it would, yeah, for them to lose an 8 game difference, 8.5 game difference between them, Grizzlies and Nuggets would be super significant. They can't fuck that up. I mean, it would really be something. And then you made a comment, yeah, you already mentioned that. I think LeBron is definitely staying with the Lakers next season, and my prayer is that Chris Paul stays with San Antonio
I think that would be a good discussion we can have, and
next time.
maybe even, yeah, and maybe even have like, a special kind of devoted 10 minutes or something like that, because it is big news, and I think it has impact on the rest of the league. So maybe we can have a little special section for that discussion.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, I'm for it. But this has
Awesome,
been a
awesome.
really great convo. I'm happy that we did manage to have it and have it recorded, etc. This is a prosperity convo for sure.
Yeah,
Uh, and I can't wait to listen to it back, listen to the recording. So
yeah,
thanks
yeah,
again. I
I'm
appreciate you
gonna.
doing the legwork on that.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And like I think it's also good that we did it like this too, because then now, we can see how it works and everything. I'll see about like the downloading and the uploading and the editing, and then that way, if this is the one, I mean, we can still try other platforms, but if this is the one that we decide to do, either for the next one or sometime in the future, we at least have a little bit of familiarity with it. So awesome.
Absolutely. All right, cool.
Cool.
Oh man, take care. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. This has been good fun, and
Cheers, cheers.
I'm really happy to get some of those thoughts off my head. And I'm happy also that we stayed on topic on the West for this one, so we can do
Yeah,
an
yeah.
all-in topic on the East next time around. But yeah, that was good talk.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, let's keep in touch about like yeah, also like the other details and formats and yeah, what we're gonna be talking about on the next time. And yeah, man, really appreciate the talking. Thanks for joining, man. That was awesome. I
Yeah, it was
always love
great.
to talk ball.
Yep.
Okay,
Ball
easy.
for
I'll let
all.
you know for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
yeah, let me see how this works, and then I'll be in touch during the day.
All right, cool. Take care, man.
Awesome.
Have a good evening.
You too. Enjoy. All right.